Did you know you can eat healthy without giving up flavor or fun? I didn't know that until I discovered Washington red raspberries. They're a clean, simple, and seriously delicious way to add more nutrition to your day. American grown by American farmers, picked at peak ripeness, and frozen within hours to lock in nutrients like fiber, antioxidants, and vitamin C. Washington red raspberries have no added sugar, just fruit, as nature intended. I love eating a handful as a snack throughout my day, and if I'm feeling fancy, I'll swirl some into yogurt or top off a salad. They're such a great summer treat. I won't gatekeep this anymore. Frozen Washington red raspberries are one of the best kept secrets in the freezer aisle, and make sure to look for Product of the US on the bag. Want to discover new ways to use American frozen red raspberries and get more details on where you can grab a bag of these delicious berries? Go to redraz.org. That's redrazz.org. You'll find recipes, health tips, retail locations, and everything you need to make frozen Washington red raspberries a regular part of your routine. Hi, I'm Yue Xu.
And I'm Julie Kraftchick.
We're active daters turned dating insiders.
Here to dive into everything modern dating and relationships.
Welcome to Dateable. Hello, friends.
Welcome back to another episode of Dateable.
We had the pleasure of being on one of our favorite people's podcasts, Ken Page, who I'm still really surprised we've never met in person.
I know, it feels like we know him.
And so many of you new listeners discover us through Ken. So thank you for finding us. And thank you, Ken, for introducing all these wonderful new listeners to us.
I would 100% give him a big hug. I mean, I feel like a lot of people we've seen, I've given an immediate hug. But I feel like for him, it'd be like a teddy bear big hug.
We should do an exercise of what kind of date we would plan with all of our podcast friends.
That'd be fun.
If we ever see them. I feel like with Ken, we would need to do something intimate, like a cocktail somewhere dark, like a speakeasy where we can talk and where it's like dark wood, cherry wood everywhere, you know, romantic.
I don't envision cocktail with him. I don't know. I see the vibe we're in that I envision. I envision like we're going to like a sound healing or I don't know, like something that's like getting deep into different, I don't know.
Much healthier.
A healthier version of deep.
Maybe we start the day with sound healing and then we end with cocktails at a speakeasy.
Sounds like a perfect day. I was just thinking, like, as I said that, like hug culture is so interesting. Like, when did that become a thing? Because I feel like back in the day, like I don't remember just like hugging people I don't know. And I feel like now it's like so common. Like, and maybe some of it is, I don't know, I'm just like thinking about work even. And I remember like a coworker of mine, like a lot of coworkers, like we had never met in person. But like I think because we had talked through like video and like it felt like we knew each other, that it was like greeted with a hug when we saw each other. And I'm just like thinking about dates even too. Like that was so standard on a first date to like greet with a hug, but it's not really like someone you know. I don't know. It's weird, right?
I think it's totally fucking weird, especially coming from Chinese culture where nobody hugs anybody, like not even your relatives or your spouse. I think it's really strange to hug just people and people in general. I think it's really strange when I meet someone new and they go, "Oh, come here, I'm a hugger." And then I'm kind of like coerced into a hug with them, you know, without my consent.
What do you do then? Because I remember like one of my coworkers, like he went to hug and then he's like, "Oh, is that okay?" And I get it, like as a man, like a white man that's older, that he was like, I don't want to like cross any lines or get this misconstrued. I was like, no, it's like totally fine. Like I'm not like taking it that way. But I could see like there being a line, but then it's so normalized too. Like, what do you do if you feel uncomfortable by it?
I've never said anything. I just
quietly
sit in my discomfort. And I'd make a note of it. I go, never come near this person again. And it's usually women. I don't really get many unsolicited hugs from men who I don't know well, but it's always like women who are strangers. And they always say something like, "Oh, come here, I do hugs," or "I'm a hugger," or I like hugs. And I don't know what to say. I was just like,
I mean,
okay.
my dentist used to give me hugs.
Your dentist?
Yeah. He was so sweet though. Like it was like he was like a gay man too. Like it wasn't like in a sexual way at all. But it was so like
That's
I don't know.
comforting.
But it was like kind of weird too because I'm like my dentist, not necessarily the person you think of getting like consoled by. I don't know. Or
I think
greeted.
dentists see the most intimate parts of you,
True.
so maybe it
True.
is. What's a hug? If, 2 minutes later they're in your mouth, like at the root, at the root of your teeth.
Sadly, I had to switch dentists because of my insurance, and not
No,
that I liked my old dentist, but the new dentist is not giving me any hugs.
no, no,
He's
no
all
comfort.
business. He's not giving me hugs.
You should put that in his review. He's fine, but doesn't give
No
hugs.
hugs. But okay, in our parents' generation, I don't think in a workplace they ever gave hugs.
Oh
Like that
hell
was
no.
not a thing. Like a shake of the hand, that's not a thing
Yeah,
anymore. And on
no.
a date, like I feel like you were saying, like you don't get that many hugs from men. But if you're a hetero dater, you're getting
Yeah,
hugs when you go to dates. Like it's almost
yeah.
like weird if you don't.
I know. Why is that a thing? It's such like you're in my personal space.
It's not a lingering hug too. It's like that like awkward, like I'm just gonna like slightly tap your back hug
Yeah, the
of
tap
like
hug, the worst.
welcome.
The
Yeah.
hover hug.
I don't know if I ever really thought about the hug that much until I went on that mock date with
Oh,
still one of like the best
yes.
experiences of my life. So we had an editor. I'll give him a shout. Well, I don't want to give him a shout out because this might be
No, that's
embarrassing.
not.
Before our last one, so it's someone else. Maybe we'll keep
We'll
him
give
anonymous. Actually,
anonymous shout out. You know who
maybe
you
don't give
are.
him a shout out. So he like wanted help, and I was like, okay, like you've been obviously helping us, and we'll set you up with this dating coach in our
Yeah.
network. And he is a man. His name was Brian Gillis. I can give him a shout out. He doesn't
Yes.
care. And he came, and I was on the mock date with the guy, and then Brian would like give feedback, which is such a surreal experience.
So weird.
And I just remember Brian walking through the door, and he's just like, hey, I'm here like on this date. And then like the guy would come up and like give him a hug, and he was like, I'm gonna do that again. Not enough enthusiasm. And he just like kept walking back and forth. And I was like, is this bartender just like, what the F is happening right now? It's like these two dudes hugging. This guy just keeps doing laughs back and being like, not good enough.
Oh, I totally forgot. So Brian was also on the date.
Yeah, he was like, so he was giving feedback on the date. So it wasn't me giving feedback. Like there was a period that he was like coaching him through different interactions. And then there was a period where him and I were talking and Brian was observing, like giving feedback.
But the hugging was actually him hugging.
Yes,
to
I
show
was
him.
not part of that. I was just watching.
Fascinating.
The whole experience was fascinating. I mean, honestly, it was pretty eye-opening and I thought it was super useful. Like there were moments of like just things that kind of came off a little negative. And I think like we don't always realize our patterns. And like he made some comment like, oh, what'd you do today? The guy that was being coached was like, oh, nothing really. And he's like, there had to be something in your day that could be interesting that you bring up. Like, and he's like, oh yeah, I got a massage. And he's like, then lead with that. Like I had the best massage today. And I was like, oh my God, like little tweaks like that are so interesting.
Yeah, because you might think you didn't have a very interesting day, but
Yeah.
stuff still happened. You still did things.
And it's also like when someone's like, how are you? And you're like, good. Like, what do you do with that?
What do you
It's
do with
just
that? Nothing.
a dead convo. So yeah, it was very eye-opening, very fascinating.
Hugging though, to be coached through hugs. Awkward. Very strange. Now that I'm going to be very aware of that. I'm also like that with friends. There are some friends who are so good at hugging that I don't, it just like comes natural. And I think that's very few and far in between. Like most people just hug to do the tap hug, which I just find so awkward.
I feel like I don't even do that with you because I can sense how
Yeah,
much you don't like it.
Well, it's not like I don't like it. I'm just like, is it necessary to do a tap hug? I don't know. It's strange. But then like our friend Louise loves giving bear hugs.
Yeah.
So those
She
are like,
does.
it's very intentional hugs. So I'm like, when I see Louise, I'm like, yes, I'm ready. I'm ready for this bear hug.
You've like mentally prepared yourself.
Yeah.
I love it.
She's
I find it so
Yeah,
comforting.
it is really comforting because I can feel her heartbeat. Like it's a very
Yeah.
intentional hug, but very few people give hugs like that.
That's true.
So, right?
The question was she giving this on dates?
I'd
So
be
I feel like
curious.
that's not what people are used to on a date. It's used to like that like pseudo fake hug.
Yeah, we should ask her. We should ask
Yeah.
her boyfriend actually.
Yeah, like what was maybe he's like sold, done.
Yeah, this bear
Best
hug
date
woman.
ever. Well, I remember I had this really weird date a long, long time ago, and the guy was like, he was telling me on the date that he judges the hug to decide if like he would go on a
What?
second date with them. He was very odd in general. Like he was like complaining about women to me on the date. It was very weird.
Oh my gosh.
And I at this point had decided like I'm never seeing this person
Yeah.
again. And then he also split the check down to like the penny, which was such a turn off too.
Such a turn off. Ooh.
It was so
You
bad.
owe $15.32.
And we had gotten one drink each because it was not a good date. It wasn't like this huge bar tab. Anyways, I digress. And then at the end, he gave me a really awkward long ass hug. And I remember just feeling like really uncomfortable. And then I was like, oh yeah, and he's like judging this hug. And then I did get a text from him asking to go out again. So I was like, I passed the hug test.
Do you think his hug test is purely duration? Is he like 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, almost there, make it to 5?
He's like, will this person exit? Yeah. I don't know. I never saw him again, so I don't know.
So many people we need to reach back out to.
Don't remember this guy's name at all. Yeah.
Mr. Hug
Hugger.
Judger. Listen, you're not the only one he's been on a date with. Someone out there who's probably listening to Dateable has been on a date with this hugger guy. Report back. Tell us.
I love that we've gone 360, starting off with Ken Page, who we just really want to give a hug to how creepy hugs are.
And if Ken came in for a hug, I don't even care what kind of hug he gives me.
You would do it.
I'm down. It could be a tap hug, a hover hug, a lingering hug, a cuddle hug.
He would do a Louise Bear hug.
He would.
Do that.
I think so too.
It'd be a very consoling, comforting hug.
It is. And he's a really tall man. For some reason, why do I think that? Did he tell us that before?
I'm not sure. I honestly, thinking about it, I don't know his height because when you only see someone on the internet, it's hard to tell their height.
Why do I think he's like 6'5"? I don't know. To me, for some reason, I have this image. He's a very tall, soothing man.
I have no idea.
He's I'm 5'2".
I still remember when we did. I don't think he's 5'2", but like I don't know if he's like 6'5" either. I still remember when we did our Dateable like sounding board get together. For anyone new here, that we had a community during the pandemic called the Sounding Board, and a lot of the folks, this was kind of on their own, independent, decided to do a trip to all meet each other in San Francisco, which was awesome. We obviously stopped by and like met people, and everyone was just like shocked by people's height. That was like the thing, because they had all seen each other for like months during the pandemic online on the computer.
Yeah. Well, that's how dating is too.
It is.
Everyone seems to be shocked by height.
It really is. Okay, not to change the topic, I do want to give a shout out before I forget.
Yep.
I want to give a shout out to Lydia, who I actually met in a Pilates class the other week.
Oh, Lydia.
At the end of Pilates, she's like, "Are you Julie from Dateable?" And I'm like, yes. She was saying how she was a long-term listener, and yeah, she was so lovely. And I did not make it to Pilates last week because I actually had a hair appointment. Can you tell my like highlights are
yes color?
I haven't done it in like a year, so I did not go last week, but maybe I'll see you next week in Pilates. It's like the jump Pilates class, which is my new favorite thing. I'm obsessed.
What's jump? Oh, you're jumping off the wall.
It's like on the board. Yeah,
you bounce off your feet touch the wall. And I've heard great things. It's
so fun. It's actually like quite difficult, like because it's like cardio. Because you're just like jumping back and forth, but it's really cool.
You're lying on your back.
Yes. You're
Yes.
lying
And
on
then
your back
you're
or
on the platform.
sometimes your side, but yeah, you're always lying down. So you're not like jumping physically, but you're like off the springboard back
Springing
and
off
forth. Yep.
yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
Well,
So
Lydia,
I will
you
see you
better be there
there.
next week.
I think she went regularly. She's like, maybe I'll see you next week. So I think she was a regular.
Oh, good. Okay. We should ask her if she heard her shout out next week.
I will. I have this place, Mighty Pilates in San Francisco, has been my favorite place for years. And it's always been in Presidio Heights, which is like not too far, but not like so close.
Yeah.
And like I have to take a bus to get there. Like it's not like walking. And then they opened one like a block
Down the
away from my
street.
house. And I'm like, this
So
is the
great.
best thing ever.
So great.
I was
And
like
Lydia goes to that
crying when
one.
I saw, I was like crying when I saw it on the street. I was like, yes.
Hallelujah.
It's like the neighborhood is increasing, improving.
Is it the same instructors or is it different ones?
No, but I think I like the instructors even better.
That's
the new one.
Great. That's great.
So,
awesome.
Yeah. I also want to read the message that we got from Julia today as well.
That made
all
us cry.
The stuff that literally made both of us cry. So Julia posted,
who's been a long-term member
in the group through the pandemic, and she said, just ordered the hard copy of our book for my best friend. I'm an audiobook person, but she's a hardcore hold it in your hands reader. You guys, seriously, if you haven't yet, get the book and read/listen to it, especially if you're newer here. It's Dateable Podcast Gold. These ladies completely changed how I date, and I can finally say I found my person, the perfect one for me. 6 months in, living together, the last 4, planning our peaceful and fun future together at 44 and 48 years old. No more drama for us, and dating this last round was easy, all caps. Coupled with some inner work, following the advice from these ladies and their amazing podcast guests was essential in turning my love life around. And then she gave a bunch of trophy emojis and said, these last emojis were just for you, Julie Kravchik.
So cute. So good. I'm so happy for Julia, and such a wonderful testament to what we're doing. And the reason why we do this in the first place is to hear people with living their best peaceful lives.
Yes. Peaceful lives. But please share this with us, because this podcast, the book, we don't it's all we're so far away from things, right? We're just talking to each other, and we don't know the impact that it's making on every single person that are listening or reading. And it really warms our hearts. You can always send us an email, hello@Dateable Podcast. You can always post it in a review. That's always appreciated. Always on the Facebook group, wherever you are, DM on Instagram, you can reach us. We're actually pretty accessible.
And just remember, all of this, it's a cumulative effect. You might not see something change right away, but one day something just clicks. And it truly happens like that. Overnight, something just clicks, and you feel like this resistance that's been taken away. And then, I think so many people just say, wow, that was kind of easy, or that came with ease, that was smooth, that came to me. And I think that is exactly what we're hoping to do, is removing these boulders in front of you. And one day you just wake up without resistance, and you get to live this love life without resistance, and in this peaceful, joyous, and calm kind of way.
I'm glad, though, you pointed out, though, that Julia has been with us for a while, because I remember her sharing frustrations and how things weren't ever happening. So for every single person that you see a success story, there is a story of a journey that comes before that. And I think that's really important for people to hear too, because it's so easy to be like, everyone else, it all works out for. But if you go back a little time, they would probably be in a very similar spot than you are right this minute. So that means that future is only there for you also. And I think it's so easy to just get into that mode. So I want to point that out explicitly.
And perseverance, one of our chapters in the book, it's about persevering, because you might get rerouted in this whole journey. and feel overwhelmed, feel deflated, feel like you're failing, but you're really on the right path. And it takes the average person 7 times to hear something, the same thing, before it really sticks. So that's why I think when Julie even pointed out, it's the book, it's the audiobook, the hardcover, and listening to the podcast, it's the cumulative effect of everything that's presented to you. And one day you're just like, I know this because I've heard this or I read this somewhere. I know it's now making sense, and it will
Yeah.
all make sense.
Yeah. So I guess call out, go get the book if you haven't yet. howtobedateable.com. Hardcover, audio, Kindle, choose your adventure, whatever works
Yeah.
for you. We hear of some people doing audio and one of the other. Or like Julia was saying, she's an audiobook person. She got the
Hmm.
audiobook right away, but her best friend is a hardcover. So she is going to buy the hardcover for her friend, which is also super sweet.
So
If you
sweet.
have been listening to this podcast and you're like, I'm in a good place, I'm in a happy, healthy relationship, pay it forward to someone else that might need
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Good.
Well, we're going to get into it in a lot more details with Ken, which is always a pleasure. But before we do, let's take a minute to hear from our sponsors.
As summer winds down, I'm all about refreshing my wardrobe with staple pieces for the season ahead. And Quince nails it with luxe essentials that feel effortless and look polished, perfect for layering and mixing. Their styles are so versatile, I find myself reaching for them time and time again. Think chic cashmere and cotton sweaters starting at just $40, washable silk tops, which I have many of, and classic denim pants. And the best part, everything with Quince is half the cost of similar brands, and they only work with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices and premium fabrics and finishes. My current most favorite piece from Quince right now is a button-down linen shirt. I have the matching pants to go with it. Such a great transitional piece, perfect for summer nights right now, and then well into the fall. Elevate your fall wardrobe essentials with Quince. Go to quince.com/dateable for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/dateable to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/DATEABLE.
Okay.
I'm Ken Page. I'm a psychotherapist. I'm the author of the best-selling book, Deeper Dating, the host of your podcast here. And today I am so excited because I have Julie Krafchick and Yue Shu, who are the hosts of the amazing, fabulous, wonderful Dateable podcast and the authors of the book, which just came out, How to Be Dateable. These folks are intrepid adventurers in the land of dating, and they're smart and they're wise and they're funny and they're down to earth and they are real and they are treasure troves of wisdom when it comes to the world of dating and intimacy. So we're going to have a lot of fun. They are going to have so many fabulous things to share. And they have concepts that they've developed that I think are incredibly helpful, and they are absolute delights. So, super excited about jumping in. And let me just say that in this and every episode, my commitment is to share with you the insights and tools that will most help you find, keep, and nourish healthy love and heal your life in the process, because the skills of dating are nothing more than the skills of intimacy, the greatest skills of all for a meaningful life. So if you want to learn more about this work, just go to deeperdatingpodcast.com. You'll find transcripts of this episode and every episode and lots of free resources if you join my mailing list. So with that, welcome Yue, welcome Julie. So glad to have you here.
Oh, our dear, dear friend Ken. I was silently screaming during that intro. Like a little girl, like,
We're
you're the
so
best.
excited to be here.
Oh, you folks too. We have done a number of episodes together.
Yeah.
I've been on
Mhm.
your show, you've been on
Mhm.
my show, and I don't know, there's a quality of integrity that I think in the land of dating is breathtakingly absent, and you
Mm.
both are filled with it. So I have about a million questions I want to ask you, but first, I want to introduce you more formally and tell about who you are and what you do. So, Julie and Yue are active daters turned dating insiders and top influential voices of modern dating, relationships, and connection in the digital world. They are the authors of the newly out and I'm sure to be bestseller, How to Be Dateable, the essential guide to finding your person and falling in love. And they're the co-hosts of the hit podcast Dateable, which has been named one of the top podcasts about modern dating and relationships by the New York Times, the Huffington Post, Oprah Daily, and more. And they're also the hosts and executive producers of the dating experiment show Exit Interview. Julie brings her background in human centered design and research, while Yue shares her experience as a dating coach. And together, you can find them at dateablepodcast.com and at Dateable Podcast. So, welcome, welcome, welcome. So glad to have you here.
Yay. And that's the end, right? That's the episode. And ta-da!
You got a lot to say about what you do, which is we're going to get to that, but I got a million questions for you. Okay. So I'm going to just jump in here with some of my questions, and when I'm looking down, I'm just looking at the questions that I have.
Go for
So
it.
I'm really interested in this one. What are some ways that dating culture today is setting people up to fail, despite having more options than ever before? Love to hear about that.
We have many thoughts about that. Dating culture currently is emphasizing dating itself, not dating for connection, not dating for relationships, not dating for love, but the pure
Mhm.
act of dating. And the
Mhm.
reason why we think that it's driving people apart is because we're also concerned about playing the game of dating that we forget why we're dating in the first place. So with
Beautiful.
everything that we do, all the behaviors and all the bad dating behaviors that keep getting coined, all these new terms, it's because we are so entrenched in the game of dating that we are not looking at the big picture, which is love, connection, human connection.
Thank you for that. So essentially true. Yeah, yeah. Really appreciate that.
I'll be right back after this. If you're interested in accelerating and deepening your search for love, I want to invite you to a very special project, the Deeper Dating Intensive. I only offer it twice a year, and it's a 6-month journey working closely with me and an amazing community to transform each member's search for love. And you can learn more at deeperdatingintensive.com. And if it feels like a match, on that page you can set up a free one-on-one session with me to explore possibilities. I look forward to connecting if this speaks to you. Welcome back.
And we know you know this, Ken. Like, this was always a thing, even with deeper dating. I think what drew me to your book originally, I remember reading it back when I was in the trenches, in the thick of dating. And there was like a refreshness of like how real it was and how like it was to drop those dating tactics. And, you know, that the dating tactics and game have been around for a long time. But what's interesting in today's world, there's extra layers of what happens because of technology and abundance of choice and options that you alluded to. And there's just so many other dynamics that we see people spending a lot of time in places that aren't really fruitful. Like we see a lot of time spent on analyzing
Yes.
text messages
Yeah.
or, you know, dating profiles or what line should I send? And it's not like these aren't factors, but it's almost like a disproportionate of time and energy spent here, which of course burns people out because you're not even talking to another human being.
Yeah.
So true, so true. I asked my entire audience, what's the thing that is like the worst stuck point for you? And they came up with this
Mm,
term dating fatigue,
yeah.
discouragement fatigue. And yeah, I think that's really true. But I just have to just segue here for a moment because Julie, you talked about being in the trenches of dating, and you're not in the trenches of dating anymore,
No,
are
she's
you?
not.
I'm
She got
not.
out.
I mean, it's funny because this is
Well, you'll
clearly
live there with everyone in your
Yeah,
audience.
right.
oh,
Yeah.
I have enough experience to feel like I
Yes.
am still very much relating. But yeah, it's funny because we're recording this like a couple days after I got engaged. So we were telling Ken about this before we joined the recording, and it's been a journey, I'll say, because I remember when I was a student myself, and I always felt like a later bloomer, like I was a little behind in dating because I didn't really date a lot like when I was in college, and it was more like in my late 20s I was like, oh, maybe I should date and like have a relationship, and I found myself in a place that I was kind of clueless. And I remember getting all the books and a lot
Mhm.
of them led me astray. Like a lot of them led
Yeah.
me to bad, inauthentic behaviors. And again, your book was one of the rare few in that like cohort of
Mm.
books that came out. And, that I think is part of why UA and I started this too. Like clearly at that point, I had more dating experience, but we were both very confused of what was happening in modern dating. And our goal at the time of starting Dateable was just to unpack it and understand it for ourselves because it was a
Yeah.
challenge for the two of us as well.
Yeah, yeah, wonderful. And congratulations.
Thank you.
And it's the quality of the two of your connection is just such a joy to see. Like Yue is the one who told me this news, and just seeing her joy at your engagement was just wonderful too.
I
We're
mean, UA
officially
is
a throuple. This is why we're welcoming this new partner into our partnership.
I was
I
gonna say UA
love
is
it.
still my number one life partner, no matter what happens. So
Longest for sure.
Wonderful. Okay, so you've kind of developed so much fabulous thinking around this that I really want to kind of mine that. And you've kind of developed a concept of the four traps of modern dating. Can you tell us about those traps and how to get out of them?
I think one of them that I fell hard for was this expectation of love on demand. Because in a very tech forward society that we live in, we expect everything to be delivered in 2 seconds or 2 minutes or 2 hours or 2 days. Anything longer than what we expect, we think that it's not worth it or it's not right for us. And we translate that into our personal lives, into our relationships. So when, let's say, you're creating a relationship with someone and things get hard, people tend to say, forget it. It's just taking longer than expected, or this person is not where I am in terms of timeline. I'm going to get out. And I would even say that Julie and I both were guilty of this in a lot of our earlier dating during this podcast, where we're like, you know what? It's a red flag, or we're getting out. Like, this is it. No, I don't want to put up with this. But now we realize after 10 years of doing this podcast, love is created, love is built, and love takes time. And if we expect for love to just appear like an Amazon package, then we're setting us up for disappointment because it doesn't work like that.
Mm.
I think with
You were
all
going to
of
say
the
something, Julia?
yeah, with all of these traps, it's our book is called How to Be Dateable, but we believe everyone is dateable. Like we believe fundamentally everyone is dateable. But what's getting in people's way and not be feeling successful in dating and feeling burnt out and dating fatigued, as you brought up, that's the traps of modern dating. And it's kind of the byproduct of the dating culture. So one of them being expectation of love on demand that Yue mentioned, where, when we expect things instantly to happen all the time, that's when people feel like, oh, I'm not going to keep going with someone because I didn't feel the spark, or I don't want to waste time because there's so many options, back to that we were talking about earlier. Like there's that expectation plus the other traps we identified. And we feel like that's what's holding people back. And once you can recognize them, then that's what frees you from it, because then you can start to move in the dating world in a much more authentic place that's with your needs at the forefront, not just doing the thing that you think you should be doing because everyone else is doing it.
Beautiful, beautiful. So that's dating trap number one. That's really a big one. And I just want to say, like, one thought about that is that you kind of we're talking about two different ways that we run too quickly. We expect things to be like just right and then we leave. One is like that initial spark,
Yeah.
Hmm.
not running when you don't feel that necessarily right away. And the other one that you mentioned, which I think is like really a piece of the wisdom that both of you bring, is that just like everyone knows relationships take work, but early relationships take
Hmm.
work too, and dating takes work. So Yue, what you said about that piece of it, I think is so true. Like there sometimes is hard work even at the beginning, and that doesn't mean that you should leave. So anyway, that was a really cool point. So let me let you continue with the other traps.
Yeah. I mean, another one that's near and dear that we see a lot of people falling for, including ourselves, is what we call the settling paradox, where we're so afraid to settle. The last thing we want to do is settle. We have a list of
Yeah.
all the characteristics we need in a partner, many of which maybe aren't actually what we need and they're not what matters. But then in return, because we're so focused on more of these superficial qualities or aspirational qualities, we forget about the stuff that matters and we end up settling for unfulfilling relationships or situationships. And it's a paradox because with all this knowledge of what we like, all the people out there, the possibility, like, why are we continuing to fall for these people that aren't giving us what we truly want?
Oh, you framed that so beautifully. That just captures it wonderfully. Yeah. Okay, gotcha. What's the next?
And then we've got the validation trap. This is in a world of social media where validation is so obvious and apparent and observable that we
Yeah.
fall for this trap where we kind of relinquish our self worth to other people. And what happens in this trap that we've seen is that people lose themselves in trying to get validation from others. So how this translates on dating apps is people just want to swipe and get the matches. And once they get the matches, it's a dopamine hit and they want to get more matches. And then we hear daters saying, I'm not getting enough matches, or I'm just not getting as many as my friend. It's that validation comparison. But then we ask, how many people are you trying to date here? Like, don't you just want one, like ultimately? So it's a trap we all fall for because of the society and the media and the culture that we live in. But if we recognize it, then we know not to relinquish our self worth and let our self worth be dependent on someone else's opinion of us.
So clearly we know that there are worlds in what you just said, worlds of pain, of losing ourselves, of losing the main picture, of losing our self-worth. And swipe apps, we know that clinically those that they really encourage anxiety and depression. They
Mhm.
fuel that for these very reasons. So I just want to acknowledge the profundity of this trap, how much it hurts, how vulnerable it makes us. Any thoughts on how to get out of that one?
I just want a second before we go into how to get out, like how much this trap shows up. Like for me, I know
Yeah.
this was a huge thing. And I can hear people saying, like, well, I don't necessarily need all the matches, but it's other ways too. It's like when you're more focused on, I think our society just puts being in a relationship at a higher tier than being single. It's like if you're a relationship, you've been saved, you figured it out. And if you're single, like what's wrong with you? And there is absolutely nothing wrong with being single for the first, for the record, but that is like the societal trope that exists. And when dating becomes about more than just finding the right person, because like it's so public that we feel like we have to compare ourselves to our friends and why aren't we there yet, and the internal pressures that happen, like all of that also plays into the validation trap. So I think a
Yeah.
first step of maybe getting out of it too is recognizing like what is it actually bringing up for you. Like when you don't get that text back, there's probably a deeper prioritization wound or something that's happening for you. And I like to look at dating as a mirror because I think that's a good way to reflect back on like what's happening for you so you can do that work to like heal that piece and not necessarily look at dating as that form of validation.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah. Super helpful. Super helpful. And I think just the naming of this trap is
Hmm.
really helpful because it's just so easy to get into that compare and despair. I was just in one of my intensives and a number of people were talking about like how like they're doing okay, they go on online dating, then they see other people's profiles who are like their competitors, they feel like, and
Yeah.
it's just like they just get sunk. There's so many ways to get kind of sunk in that process. So thank you for naming that. That's it's a really big one, a really important one. And there was one more too, right?
Yes. And this is all what's causing dating fatigue, by the way, because all these traps pull us away from our most authentic selves. So the fourth
Right.
one we see to be very common for most daters, which is this concept called relationship chicken, where you have people wanting to get into relationships, but we do everything opposite in dating. We try to show as least interest as possible. We try to not be the first one to express our emotions because then we quote unquote lose. So it's kind of odd that all we're trying to do is to connect with someone and create a relationship, yet we do everything to prevent the relationship from happening.
Oh my God, you folks are the best. That's great. That's so, I mean, it's not great, it's painful, but thank you for naming it. Thank you for naming it. That's so much of the magic of what the two of you do is you name things that would otherwise like be stealth. They'd be like
Yeah.
stealth poison. And by
Mm,
naming it in the way that you do, like even giving it, did you made up that name, relationship
Yeah.
chicken, right? Yeah, it's fabulous. Ah, so much in what you said. And your book helps people through all of these traps. Is that right?
yes.
Yes.
I
I
want to
think
hear
that
about that.
the thing to reiterate too is like you're not doing anything wrong by doing these traps. Like this is actually the norm is to be doing these traps. Like
Yes,
we've been
yes.
told this is how you date. We hear people are just, when you think about it, like would you ever treat like other relationships in your life as like method like as clinically almost as like dating, like you're not like
Mm,
counting the number of hangs that you have with a new friend, and you're not like defining, is this going to be my best friend, and like all this stuff is just very
totally transactional.
non-organic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think like of course like there's some method of dating, and we're not telling people in the book to stop dating by any means. It's more of just like, okay, now that we know this is how kind of dating is designed and it's not working in the sense that we're not feeling good. We hear people what we're calling a love crisis because people are feeling like more discouraged by dating than
Yeah.
ever
Yeah.
before. I'm not sure you've recognized this in your work. Like it just feels like in the last year or so, it's even like compounded more than past years. And just the burnout is happening. So
Yes.
our thought is like, how can you go in and, have this magic of dating and connection if you're going into the whole thing in a burnt out place? So what can we do to actually get clear more on what is it we want and find a way to date in a way that works for us, opposed to succumbing to these like rules and methods that aren't working?
Beautiful. Yeah. 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 And so I'm going to ask you more about that in a minute, but I just want to say that there is this way that the two of you combine insight and reality with a very practical and real sense of hope. I think that like
Mm,
Yeah.
somehow with what you do, people walk out with a sense of hope and more clarity, which is why I think your book is so precious and why I want all of you to go out and get it because it will really support you in your dating journey, in your intimacy journey.
thank you,
So
Ken.
Thank you,
yeah,
Ken.
I
Yeah.
really mean it. I'm such a fan of both of yours. You are the real deal. And there's a lot of that not around. So, okay, I am interested in the different dating archetypes that you have defined. So tell us more about that.
Yes. This is this is such a fun tool for everybody because in our 10 years of doing this podcast and doing our research, we found 5 categories of how people date and their attitudes towards dating, and also where their superpowers are in dating, like their core gifts, as you would say, Ken,
Hmm.
and then where they could be missing some aspects, overlooking some places that are holding them back. And we came up with this dating archetype assessment because, first of all, we know dating culture is very fucked up, but we can't boil the ocean, right? So, where we have to start is with the individual. The only way we can make a change is through you. You just take care of yourself and be accountable for yourself. So, through this assessment, once you know what your archetype or archetypes are, because many people can fall into multiple categories, then you know where to lean into and then where to be more aware of. So, for example, one of the archetypes is a maverick. That's who I am. I've been that all my life. My core gifts are I'm super independent. I stand strong in a relationship. I have a strong sense of identity. And I respect space from my partners and I respect space for myself. And I have very high standards. I will lean into that. But what may be holding me back is that I run. I run at the first threat of my independence. I run at the first threat of my
Mm.
identity. And when things get tough, I think, oh, this is not right for me. So I'm going to take control of the situation and get ahead of it and preemptively run away or break up with this person. So what I'm doing, what I'm accountable for right now is to be aware of the times I want to run. And then I ask myself, which direction am I running into? Am I running away from this person or running into this towards this person? So that's where the slight change in my behavior has really helped me understand my archetype. So
This is a
that's
subjective I. You're talking about really you in saying
yes,
that, right? Thank
yes,
you. Yeah.
yes.
Beautiful.
It's me
Beautiful.
through
That's a
and through.
gift.
But here's the reminder I will never be less independent,
Right.
right? And I will never be someone who is different than this maverick type. I have to lean into the core
Yes.
gifts that have been
Yes.
given to me. And a true partner understands and appreciates those. But I also know
Beautiful.
when I'm self sabotaging myself and my relationships.
Perfect. 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 Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. So that's one. That's a great one.
So my leading ones were the dreamer achiever. So the dreamer is, you wear your heart on your sleeve, you want nothing more than love and you're so caring and put everyone first and this type of person makes a fantastic partner because they are just loving all in all. The downside was that you sometimes get ahead of yourself. You live in a fantasy a little. Like for my personal self, there were so many times that I was in situationships or relationships that clearly weren't going anywhere. But I had this vision that just wasn't
Mm,
realistic. Or I had this great first date and I held on to that instead of all the
Mhm.
subsequent times where it just wasn't meeting my needs in any way. And then the achiever was my other prominent one, which again, this person knows what they're looking for. They are not afraid to go after it in work and career and education. This served me really well, right? Like I was someone that was a go getter. But in love, it was hard because I was always looking for that next milestone and counting, like, am I on my third date? What's going to
um,
happen? Just very
mm,
attached to the
mm,
future. And that's hard to stay present. And I'll give you an example, like where the two kind of played together. And this was
yeah.
a real challenge for me. And I think like when I saw these were my two leading ones, I was like, okay, this all makes sense now. I think
Right.
because I had this dreamer mentality that I saw the best in people, that I wanted things to keep going because of the achiever side, like I would stay and, I had this situation that a friend of mine like confessed his feelings to me. And at first I was like, oh, I didn't really view him that way. I didn't think he was someone that was partner material. He didn't seem like someone that wanted something serious. Like my gut was saying this isn't right. But
Yeah.
because then the dreamer kicked in, I was like, oh, maybe this could be something and kept going with it. And at that point, I was like, okay, let me give it a try. And again, this isn't like bad to give things a try that maybe you wouldn't in the first place. But when I was time for me to give it a try, he was like, actually, I don't want a relationship anymore. And mind you, we slept together, so that could have been part of it as well. So it was like as soon as that hit, it was like, oh nope, I don't want a relationship. If I was the dater
Mm,
I am today, I would have stepped back at that point. I would have been like, okay, I gave it my all. Said he's not
Right.
looking for a relationship, gonna take that at
Right.
face value. I'm
Mhm.
not gonna try to do anything. But back when my achiever was really kicking in, I was like, okay, this is ammunition to double down. I'm gonna change this person. I'm gonna make them want to be with me. And I'm like sad to say that it was like 2 years that was kind of this like friends with benefits, like clearly was not meeting what I wanted. But again, the fantasizer, like the dreamer in me, saw it as like so much more than it was. Like I thought I was like in love with this person. So you can see how this can really prevent you from stepping away and meeting people that are at your level and that, could be really great partners. And finally acknowledging that it allowed me to date in a much more realistic way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wonderful. And I can see these things as being such incredible seducers away
Hmm.
from like the
Mm,
authentic intimacy.
Yes.
All of these can
yeah.
seduce us away so easily.
I want to dive into this even more, but before we do, let's take a quick break to hear from our partners.
And there's more, right? Are there more archetypes?
That's a very good word to use. We might have to steal that one, Ken. These,
Mm.
Seducers.
yeah, your seducers in your archetype. Well, the seducer for the thinker, which is one of the other archetypes, let's start with the positives are. The thinker is someone who is deeply committed. This is a person that is intentional about their decisions, who has done their research. They are reliable, they're consistent, they're dependable. But where they may see what's holding them back, the seducers, would be this analysis paralysis. They're constantly doing all their research, they've got all the resources, and they're wanting more information. But when you're
Mm.
inundated with so much information, the thinker may be seduced to not act at all and to not really take that next step or to initiate.
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah. Yeah.
You can see that, right?
Yeah, that's really, really big. I can see all of these really clearly. And so those are the archetypes.
Yep, one more is the Energizer, the last one. So there are 5, and they actually spell out
Uh,
mated, which we did not actually plan. That was a,
oh, I
a real
love when that
coincidence
happens.
Got
at the
lucky.
Yes, you
end.
get an
We're like,
acronym. Yeah.
UA found that.
Woo!
She's like, wait. But the
Oh, it's a
last
real
one
word.
is the Energizer. And this is the person that is very extroverted. They are the great date. Like you always have fun with the Energizer. They are go, go, go. They're either filling their social calendar or filling their dating queue. They're just like lining up all the people. And in a relationship, this person is always trying new things and bringing new experiences and can be really great partner in that way, just full of life. Where this person, maybe what's holding them back is like all the go, go, go doesn't allow them to like reflect, like, what is it that I actually want? And also, if you're just kind of going out with so many people, you kind of stay at this surface level instead of going deeper. And people can feel like when they're a number in the lineup, or if you can't schedule a date for 3 weeks because you're so booked up, it's really hard to keep the momentum going in any new connection.
Yeah, yeah. So all of these have, like you said, a superpower, like a
Yep,
gift.
Hmm.
they
And
do.
all of them have, and I think that this is true. Our deepest immaturities constellate around our greatest gifts. And we have
Hmm.
to know the gifts. And like you said, you have to lean into the gift first and
Yep.
foremost, but then see what the immaturities are that's around that. So this is a really useful tool for people to chart their intimacy journey, even after the relationship has begun,
Yes.
even while the relationship
Hmm.
is going on, because we'll keep doing those same things in our relationship.
100%. And we also actually tie it back to the traps that we mentioned earlier in the book, because everyone
Oh,
might fall for the traps in slightly different ways given their
Yeah.
archetype. So these
oh,
traps
beautiful.
are kind of prominent with everyone, but yeah, the way they show up might be slightly different.
So this is a gift for everybody, is that you actually have a quiz that people
Hmm.
can take
Yep.
to identify in more detail which of those archetypes are theirs. What are the traps? What are the superpowers? Later on, I'll be asking how people can find out more about you, but here we are right now. So how do people get the quiz?
They can actually just go to howtobedateable.com. That's our book site too, since the quiz is in the book, but the quiz is there
Beautiful.
even if you don't get the book. We hope it compels you to take that next step, but even if it doesn't, I think there's a lot that's there that could be helpful just right away.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Great, great.
Hey, Ken, did any of those resonate with you, as in who Ken is today?
Okay. So who Ken is today in a marriage relationship that's gone on for 16 years. But I also think about who I was
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
in early dating. And I guess I would say like this swirl of gifts and neuroses that kind of like characterize my way of being. I would have to say that the thinker is a really,
Mm-hmm.
really
I could
big
see
one
that.
for me.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I will be like, Greg and I do this tantric hug every night and mostly every morning where we just hold each other. And in my head, to stop my thinking is the hardest thing in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, Ken, come back, come back. Yeah, so like I definitely like think about the nuances and the meaning. And that's also connected to a deep sensitivity, a deep like awareness of my nervous system, which then like which is a gift, which links in with my thinker self. So I would have to say thinker, but I would also have to say dreamer. And then
Mm-hmm.
that dreamer one is like an achiever in the realm of like, let's have more intimacy in our family. Let's have more intimacy with our kids. Let's have more intimacy with each other. And that like joins in with my thinker, which never gives me a fucking break. So that's my thought about how these apply to me. But it's really helpful to hold each one of those and think of
Yeah.
them as both a gift and an avoidance of intimacy. Yeah.
Do you feel like that was in your dating life? Like, I know you shared some of your stories on our podcast about just
Mm-hmm.
like the wave that would come over and some of that. Like, do you see like
Mm.
that correlation, or do you feel like you had a different archetype maybe when you were dating?
Well, I think of that as like I have to think about my answer to that, but I would say that essentially it's the same ones. I would say
Mm-hmm.
essentially it is the same ones. But I just think that I guess the dreamer played a bigger role
Hmm.
then. And that was like my longing for intimacy, but also then my shame around intimacy. So it was like it was a really interesting one because it was the dreamer, but then it was my shame around being the dreamer that made me kind of not show my dreamer self, which was like
Mm-hmm.
another
Interesting.
kind of immaturity that
Yeah.
swirled around
Interesting.
that. Yeah,
Huh.
yeah. So Hmm. I love that each of you shared both your archetypes and kind of your traps as well. That's really helpful. When you wrote the book, when you put the book together after, a decade of
Yeah.
listening to experts and people in the trenches and living your own life, what did the book like what for you was kind of some of the most important kind of distillations that you got from that? Because you had to do so much thinking
Mhm.
about everything you had heard. What are the distillations that you feel are like the most valuable for readers and listeners?
I mean, the one that stands out to me is like, sounds weird coming from dating experts, but I feel like you don't need to be good at dating. And I think that's like the
Ah,
basis of the
say more.
book
Mm-hmm.
Say
because
more.
I think at least the way dating is today, the way it's structured today, it's all centered around disconnection instead of connection, what we all
Beautiful.
so deeply crave. And like we were talking about earlier, when you're playing relationship chicken or you're focused on this list that someone needs to measure up to, and you're so afraid to settle and all of that, that is all around like a protection mechanism, and it's game playing, it's inauthenticity. Like even, I just always go back to this example. Like we had a friend of ours on our podcast and she was talking about how like dating culture just makes her feel like she wants to give less because everyone else is giving less. So she
Yep.
calls
Yes.
it that she's succumbing to the lowest common denominator. In
Yes.
like every other part of life, she is on it. She's making plans. She's proactive. She's setting up all this stuff. But in dating, because everyone else is giving such limited effort, she's now ghosting because other people are ghosting.
Hmm.
She's giving
So
she's
important.
giving 9% because someone's giving 8% or 10%. Someone's giving 10%, she's giving 9%. And our whole take was like that, just to keep going like down into a like being pulling away from your authentic self and who you are to play the dating game. No one is winning in that situation. So why not
Yeah.
just give 0% to that person and stay true to your needs and focus on the people and let them rise up instead of feeling like you need to like learn the dating game. I think that's like the biggest thing that stood out to us, is that everyone's trying to like fit into the mold of dating instead of
Mhm.
taking that step back and being like, what do I want and how do I actually stay true to myself?
Beautiful, beautiful. And I want to come back to that point. Yue might also have some things that she wants to say, but then I want to come back to that point of like, how do you do that in your profile? Because that seduction of like, how do I do what I'm supposed to do versus like,
Mm.
how am I going to really be me? So I want to come back to profile writing, but I just wanted to know, Yue, for you too, like your a key distillation for you.
It's actually kind of related to your profile question. So here's
Oh,
to give you a little context. It took us about 2.5 years for this book to be born, the longest labor ever. And
hmm,
during this 2.5 years, as you know, a lot of things can happen. So when we first started writing the book, I was in a long-term relationship living with my partner. Julie had just started her relationship to her now fiance. Ooh, fiance. Um, but in the middle of writing the book, I had gotten out of the relationship at almost 5 years due to infidelity, and Julie moved in with her partner. So, what was so beautiful about this time was that we were able to look at this book from multiple perspectives at different
amazing.
stages in your dating career. Okay. And we found this holds true. A lot of people think, oh, my situation's different, but I'm going to try to do I'm going to try to do dating differently. Well, you can't do dating differently if you're still just swimming in modern dating. You're still in the same game. What's going to change your behaviors and your actions is to think differently. And I think
Tell
what is
us.
what is so beautiful about this book is that we talk about this idea of rising above modern dating. Let's stop drowning in this culture that's pulling us down and literally succumbing to the lowest common denominator where we're one downing each other. Rise
Mm,
above. Stop saying, "Oh, I'm going to do, like yes, you can rewrite your profile 10, 15 times. You can re-download the apps to refresh the kind of inventory you get. You can close down your apps and only date people out there in the wild. Yes, you can do all these different things. But guess what? You're still swimming in the same pool. But if you rise above and say, actually, I'm just not going to settle for anybody who is not aligned with my values, who is not aligned with what we call a dating North Star, which is why you're dating in the first place, or anybody who is not
beautiful.
validating me in the right way, but anybody who's not prioritizing me, anybody who's not consistently communicating with me, I'm going to rise above. I don't need to engage or succumb to that pool of daters. So I think that's such a takeaway is like, yes, we
Mm.
can talk about dating profiles all we want, but if you're still in the same mindset, not much is going to change.
I love it. I was going to clap, but it would have created a horrible noise in my microphone, so I controlled myself. That's great. That's great. Dating North Star. How can
Yes.
people find and identify and articulate? Because you need your North Star, right? You need to be
Yes.
oriented to your North Star. If you're not loyal to your North Star, you will be loyal to self-sabotage. So
That
how do you find your North Star?
We do have a whole exercise in the book. So you can do all this.
Fabulous.
But I mean that the whole like thing too is like the second part of our book is like, okay, we've identified all these traps. We've identified what's holding people back and where there's opportunity. Now what are we going to do about it? Because
Yeah.
that's the whole point, right? And like you said earlier, we believe actually that this is very hopeful. And we like when people ask us our take on dating, they're always expecting us to be like, oh, it's so terrible out there. And both of us
Mhm.
have actually felt very positive about dating through our
Yes.
10 years of doing this podcast, which
You
is a
both embody
testament.
hope. You do. And it
Yeah,
is a
but
testament.
but
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
testament to the change of the way you're thinking about it. So
Uh-huh.
the dating North Star, I definitely attribute this to a huge part of what helped. It freed me. I think it freed me to be like,
Mhm.
Yes.
I'm going to invest in the right people and recognize a lot quicker when someone's not measuring up. Because looking
This is
back,
everything.
yeah, like one of the
Mhm.
biggest things, and again, everyone has what's holding them back. For me personally, as the dreamer and achiever, it was staying with the wrong people. That was 100% hands down why I didn't meet someone earlier. Again,
Mhm.
happy the way it all played out. Everything is a way of working the right way. But I think the dating North Star, it's twofold. And again, there's a whole exercise, but it's what's your reason for dating right now? Like, why are you dating? When we ask people, usually we get a generic answer like to be in a relationship, to have companionship. And not to say that those aren't valid, they totally are, but we're asking you to go deeper. Like 5 layers deeper. Those are just like scratching the surface. And we actually, in the exercise, encourage people to not even use the word partner or relationship. And what is it that you actually want? Like, if dating was off the table, what would you be missing out on? So it's one, getting really clear there. And then the second part of the North Star is identifying your top 3 core needs. I think so many
Mhm.
of us, including myself for a long time, had no idea what our needs are, like in the
Mhm.
first place. And a good way to actually figure out your needs real fast is to look at what bothers you the most about modern dating. For me, it was when I didn't know if I'd see someone again or
Oh, I like
get a
that.
call
I like
back
that.
or text back. So it was like the inconsistency. And when I was dating before I met my partner, that became a huge need of mine. And if someone wasn't able to do that, they dropped off. Like I didn't care about their credential anymore. I didn't care about the crazy chemistry we had. If they couldn't meet like the bare minimum of being in a relationship with me, then I needed to move forward. I needed to stay true to myself and invest somewhere else.
Ah, beautiful, beautiful. I love this concept. Did you both come up with that? You're dating North Star?
Mhm.
Yeah,
It's
it's
gorgeous. It
huge.
is gorgeous. It's just gorgeous. And everyone, I just invite all of you to think about that. And I think you told me that there's a part of the book that includes something from our interview. Is that
Yes,
right?
it's yeah. Of course you
Oh,
made
that's
your way
Of
in, Ken.
course.
woohoo. I love that. I love that.
I mean, we actually talk about the core gifts. That's
Ah,
the part that
beautiful.
we
Yes.
Yeah.
love so much. And I think it goes back to the theme like, we're not telling anyone to change who they are because you're all amazing. Like, everyone is amazing the way they are. We don't need to. I think self help gets a bad rep, like normally, of like, you need to do all this stuff to
Yeah.
fix
Yeah.
you. And I think you and I, we're all on the same page. Like us
Yeah.
and you and Ken with your book, it's like, we're not telling you to change who you are fundamentally. It's like, how do you just get out of your own way and unlearn the things that aren't actually helping in any way?
Yeah.
And what we talk about in actually our last, we have a framework that's the way out, but the last part is perseverance, because it does take time to find your person. Of course, we wish everyone the second they read the book, they meet their person right away, but that's not always realistic. There is an element of time and just the right person showing up for you and being open to the right person. But we talk about, like, in that chapter, the core gifts and how, there is
Love
this
that. Yeah.
need to fall in love with what you bring to the table and
Yes.
recognize that.
Beautiful, beautiful. I'm so glad. I'm so glad that's in there. Yeah, our work, I think, is so in sync. So I'm just going to ask a last question before we talk about how people can dive
Mhm.
into your world, learn more, really, really get to take advantage of all that you have to offer, which is abundant. So that last question is kind of, what's something you want to say to my audience, to our audience? Like, what's the one thing that you most want to impart at this moment?
Mm. For me, it would be that through this book writing process, this message resonated with me more and more. And that message is, instead of exerting the energy out, I want to focus on bringing that energy in, preserving energy in. And that means checking in with myself to see, is this something aligned with what I want, aligned with my values, aligned with my needs? And is this something I want to spend energy on? And a lot of times in dating, we care about what other people think. We care about which apps they should be on. We care about what are the events they should be at. It's exerting that energy out. And end of the day, this is why we experience dating fatigue, because we reserve no energy for ourselves. So I would say the main message that I'm taking away today for me is to prioritize my energy first, date myself
Mhm.
first before I allow myself to share that energy with others.
That is so counterintuitive,
Mhm.
wise, probably so much not what people expected you to say, but such a gift that it's actually that inner game that defines the outer journey.
Yeah.
And I love that. And I love the bravery because that's looking in instead of looking out. And God knows it's seductive to look out. So
Very.
thanks for the power of that message. Yeah. Yeah.
Just to add on to what Yue said, I think what the way
Yeah.
you said that, it just comes from it's a place of like, I know my worth, I know my value, and
Yeah.
I'm like
Yeah.
in control in the sense that like I'm leading with what's important to me. I'm not letting others dictate my happiness or pull me down. And I think today with dating, we put so much emphasis on the other that a lot of this is counterintuitive. And really, when we
Yeah.
wrote this, it was like peeling back the layers on a lot of this to be like, actually, what is important? Is this the way? Like, it doesn't need to be this way. So I think first and foremost, like the counterintuitive, I think is maybe the word I would use to describe all of it. But the last message I think to leave your audience is trust in your timing. This one keeps resonating with me that
Mhm.
like
Mm.
while it's easy to be like, well, I wish I was further along, or I didn't do all this, like I could look back at that situationship I mentioned, like why did I do that for 2 years? All of that though helped get me to where I am today. And we see this with daters, that the journey and understanding the growth that happens from dating is helping you get to a larger place. And it's hard to see in the moment. I think once you get there, you're like, everything made sense. Like I needed to do all this to get to where I
Wow.
am and to develop. So I guess the parting words are is if you're not where you want to be today, it's okay. You did nothing wrong. How can you learn from it so you don't keep repeating the same things over and over again and move forward? For me, it was like if someone tells me they don't want to be in a relationship, I'm not going to try to make them do that. Like
Yeah.
I'm moving forward. I've learned that and I will never stand for that again. Instead of shaming yourself of like, why did I stay for 2 years? Like we all have done things, but it's how do we move forward and trust in the larger vision?
Mhm.
Oh, so fantastic. I just think that the two of you are like the wise friend that everybody would want to be able to talk about this with, like really, really, really. And your book distills that, your podcast distills that. But I don't think anybody does what the two of you do in the way that you
Oh.
do. And I love that. So I'm
You do,
so
Ken. That's why we love you.
yeah, I do it in another way too, and that is why we love each other. And at different points in your journey, when we have had interviews together, I've gotten to hear about your story, you've gotten to hear about mine.
Mhm.
So it's wonderful that we do that. And I got lots more questions, particularly in the realm of sex and dating, that we won't have time for today, but I'd love to have you on again and get to ask those questions at a later point.
I'd
But
be happy
meanwhile,
to. Yes.
thank
We
you.
are
I can't
deeper
wait.
dating
I
and
can't
dateable
wait.
are BFFs. So
Deeper
Yes, it's
deeper
true.
dateable.
That's
Remember,
true.
that was our
oh yeah,
that's who we
That's
are
right.
now.
that's the crossover. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So, okay. how can everybody get to learn more about everything dateable?
Yeah. Well, howtobedateable.com. You can find out anything about the book. You can do the quiz that we mentioned. Also, of
Mhm.
course, you can find the book at Amazon, local booksellers, anywhere out there. And then dateablepodcast.com for everything else. And we are everywhere. We're book where podcasts are. We're on every platform and at Dateable Podcast on Instagram and other social media.
And naturally, as podcasters, we do have an audiobook version of the book
Yes.
as well. And we highly recommend getting the companion, the hardcover, and the audiobook because there are a lot of exercises in there you may want to write in your book. And then some areas you may just learn by walking or driving.
Yeah.
So definitely get the companion book and audiobook.
Oh, I think that's a great idea. Yeah, because really, really, like something happens when you walk and you listen.
Yes.
And something happens when you read and
Yep.
get to write. So, yeah, absolutely. Well, I think you both are just the best. I'm so happy to have you here. Thanks for your wisdom and your fun. And I will have you on here again soon. And everyone buy the book because it's really, really, really worth getting. And listen to their podcast because they are just spectacular. Thank you. Thanks,
Thank you,
everybody.
Ken.
Looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of the Deeper Dating Podcast. And Yue and Julie, thank you so much for being here.
We
Thanks for
appreciate you,
having
Ken.
us.